coming to you. By and by, come in the window, take what you have. Stand up for yourself. Stand up for yourself. Stand up for yourself. They met in secret. They weighed in the balance everything you should know. So they saw you in the alley with all that firepower. You took them out with machine gun fire. Their meeting, you froze their bank accounts and kept it a secret. And now, after the sneak attack, you're declaring victory. Marxist death notice. Marxist death notice. Coming for you. Coming for you. Tommy. Rat. Street sweepers. Anti-aircraft guns. Poison, every other weapon of war. Beat war drum. Beat, 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 beat.
Hi everyone, that is Zeph Daniels' original music available on iTunes. It is November 25th, 2019. I am your host, Amelia Duran, and this is the Porthole to Justice, the window to the truth. Okay, so, just a second here. I don't know what that is. Wings of War. I am having on today Jacob Schreffler and Brian Christie, investigative journalists on the Scheaffer Cox story, which is a federal it's a federal case and a federal setup of a conservative activist, Second Amendment lobbyist who was set up by the Obama administration when he publicly called out state federal agents for trafficking children in Alaska. The FBI went after Scheaffer with a vengeance and made sure his trial was unfair, with Brady violations that were committed by the prosecutor, and years were given to Scheaffer Cox, who really committed no crime. He actually started a 1-800 hotline for witnesses to call in when they were going to be interacting with the police, and people that would come and document. And he started compiling evidence of child trafficking that was going on in Alaska. And at the time, he was garnering a lot of attention, giving speeches on the Constitution locally. And so I'm going to go ahead and get these two gentlemen on with me. Let's see if I can join. Hi, guys. Welcome to the Porthole to Justice.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead. Introduce yourself, and then Brian, you go next.
Okay. Well, hello. I'm Jacob Schreffler, and I didn't hear the preamble, but I'll just say that I'm an aspiring Christian blogger. I'm a due process enthusiast, and I've been very interested in trying to do whatever I can to help out Scheaffer Cox, because this is just a horrible travesty of justice that's happened. And I'll turn it over to Brian now.
Good morning. I'm Brian Christie. I live in Alaska. I'm the longest-serving aide to Scheaffer Cox. He was my friend before all this mess happened to him and to us, to everyone, actually. And what I've seen go on here is his attorney friend in Fairbanks said it's the biggest travesty of justice he's seen in 35 years as an attorney. And it is to me. It's so infuriating. This guy has just been set up. He was exposing crime and corruption in Alaska after he ran for office in Alaska. He ran for state representative and got 38% of the vote at 24 years of age in a three-way race. He's brilliant. And then he was going around having town hall meetings and exposing corruption, and people were going to him for advice in dealing with Child Protective Service corruption and other corruption. And the word got out what he was doing, and he became a victim set up by the government. And they used some felons, some guys that had felonies against them. They told him, "You're going to help us bust Scheaffer Cox, or you're going to go to prison and do your prison time." And so they ended up helping him out and helping set him up. And there's a video you could look at it explains this thing somewhat. But since the video has come out, there's been more stuff going on. Like now, we found out that the FBI stole up to $3 million of his defense money, etc. Stuff like this going on, and it's just.
They're actually, they're switching him around to a lot of different jails, I understand, recently. Jacob, can you just briefly premise how they set him up exactly?
Well, basically, the way Scheaffer was involved, you have to understand the facts of the circumstances which the Scheaffer was in. He was running something called Liberty Bell Network, which is where he gets people to videotape or audio tape police pulling people over and things like that, just to make sure that they're following the law and doing everything like they're supposed to be doing. And so when you do something like that, the police don't really like that, because they really want to be able to get away with things. And the political situation in Alaska with the federal government is not really a good one. I mean, you just have to look at the Ted Stevens case and the mysterious crash of Ted Stevens and Hale Boggs and just situations like that. There's an article from a blog that was called Alaska Unsilenced. It's called Deconstructing Bambi, I think you can get it from freeschaeffer.com. This is if it's down now. This is a very important article that I want to draw people's attention to. Again, that article is Deconstructing Bambi, and this is an example of the kind of things that happens with women being murdered, and there being politicians involved in Alaska. And what happens is the federal government comes in and shuts down the state investigation, and then they control the investigation, and nothing ever gets done. And the reason I bring this up is because this is connected into the situation with Ted Stevens and the way witnesses were gotten against Ted Stevens, and this was a scandal. So Senator Ted Stevens, this is relevant to Scheaffer because the thing that happened with Stevens had some of the same prosecuting attorneys that were operating against Scheaffer, and both Ted Stevens and Scheaffer were political threats to the establishment because they were both trying to stop corruption. Why don't you tell us about that Scheaffer report, Brian?
Yeah, there's the Henry F. Scheaffer report to Judge Emmett Sullivan is a thing that was requested by Judge Emmett Sullivan to have Mr. Scheaffer investigate corruption going on, and it's about 540 pages or so, and it explains everything. That's a lot of corruption. If you think that Judge Emmett Sullivan is a good guy, he's part of it. He is part of it.
Well, I'm not sure what to think of Emmett Sullivan, but, I think that we just have to wait and see what happens. I know there has been...
Well, if you read the Henry F. Scheaffer report, you'll know that Sullivan knows what's going on, and he doesn't do anything about it.
I think one of the things that's complicated about this judicial situation is that the judgeships don't always have the jurisdiction they need to get things done. Because when Sullivan did that, he was in D.C., and the people he was investigating were actually federal prosecutors in Alaska. So what really needs to happen is there needs to be a special prosecutor appointed, and they need to look into the corruption into the DOJ that's in Alaska. And they need to look in corruption into the DOJ in general, because you can see how ridiculous things are, right now in general with the Russia hoax and just Julian Assange. And, the list just goes on and on. Edward Snowden. I mean, there's just so many, travesties of due process are happening. And I think people need to just realize that it makes a difference when you come into the courtroom and you just watch the corruption that's going on and you write about it. And people need to realize they can make a difference by pointing out these due process problems and these obstructions of justice that are happening.
We see these tactics really being used more on the public stage since Trump has become president, because they're using the same tactics against our president. So it's become more. It's more in the public eye that this is a real issue within the judicial system as well as within Congress. But we have, I've been educating personally on trying to, with my activism, on this kind of network of corrupt judges that are involved in what I've coined the term is immunity human trafficking, using state actors and social workers, gang stalking and targeting and so forth. It's a huge issue, and it's treason.
Yeah, in the end, it amounts to treason in a lot of cases, and at the very least, there should be, we need to go to competent state authorized grand juries, and we need to get, based on probable cause evidence, we need to get indictments and arrest warrants for a lot of these bad actors that are in government, and frankly, they need to be removed from office because they are just not doing their job at all.
The judge in the case, Judge Bryan in Tacoma, said that part of Schaeffer's problem is that he was homeschooled, and that's getting him in trouble, and that he's a smart guy, and he thought that he would like to build himself a submarine or try and build a submarine. So the judge was saying that he's crazy because he was homeschooled and he wants to build a submarine, you know.